What's going on, guys? Welcome to a mod spotlight on inventory tweaks by jimeowan, and today we're going to be looking at version 1.41b. Now this is going to be a pretty quick video because, let's face it, there's not a lot to this mod even though it's extremely useful. So basically what this mod does is tweaks your inventory. From the description on the forum thread, it automatically replaces your tools as they break and item stacks once emptied. It sorts your inventory and your chests in a single click or keystroke. It provides lots of powerful shortcuts to move items around, and it allows you to customize entirely the way your inventory is sorted thanks to clever configuration files. So basically, if we have anything in our inventory, this is probably going to be a poor example, but let's just try and gather some stuff real quick here. So if we open up our inventory, we can middle click and it sorts it. We can also hit R and it will also sort our inventory. Now you can change this R because if you're like me and you use TMI, that is the hotkey for recipes. So if you hit R on this, it's going to sort your inventory instead of showing you recipes. But you can change the R in the options. If we go in here to controls, we go down to R, sort inventory, and we can change that to whatever we want. So if we go here and open up a chest, you will see we have a few nice little nifty buttons here. We can hit the three dots to go into the options, and this is where you configure some of the basic options. So you can turn off the buttons that show up in chests, you can turn off keyboard shortcuts, and you can also see the keyboard shortcuts here, which is quite a few of them. And I'll go over those in a few seconds. We can also enable or disable auto middle click and the auto refill. If we go to more options, we can have it so it auto equips armor, which is off by default, sounds on by default, and sort on pickup is actually off by default, but I turned it on to see how it works. And yeah, so basically from what I can tell, so when you pick something up, it fires it up here into your inventory instead of onto your hotbar. So that's kind of useful. So if we go back into our chest, we'll see the three little sort buttons here. We can also just middle click and that will cycle through these buttons. So if you're like me and you often have an inventory that looks like this and you find it almost impossible to find stuff in it, just hit one of these buttons and your items will magically be sorted. Oh, look at all that extra space we had in there. So this first button basically just sorts it from left to right and then, top to bottom. Now if we go this way, we'll sort into columns, and it basically tries to group items in columns. It's kind of hard to see in this example because there's so many different items in here, but this is the same as the last one except it sorts in rows. Now if we go over here, this is a little easier to demonstrate with this chest. This is the default sort, like the line, like left to right, top to bottom. Then if we go columns, we'll see everything is nicely sorted into column. Now, one thing to note here is that it sorts based on item IDs. So, for instance, we have silver ingots from Red Power, so we have 1257:3, so the damage value of 3. And if we have another Red Power item, I think we have let's see, copper, so let's see, 1257, so 1257.5. So if we put these up here and we sort again, we'll see they get added into the same column. So it's sorted by the item ID, and it doesn't really consider any items with a damage value to be separate items, but that's not really a big deal. It's still extremely useful. So let's go over a couple of the shortcuts. Basically we can, let's take a couple things in here. So control clicking will move items up and down from your hotbar and your inventory. And then we have, if you want to move all of the same items up and down, just control and shift click. And obviously that's going to work on a chest as well. So if you have a chest open, everything defaults to going in and out of the chest and into your inventory, whereas if you have the chest closed, it defaults between your hotbar and your inventory. So we can also move all items by holding space and clicking. And we can move items down to the hotbar by holding any of the numbers on your keyboard across the top and clicking on an item. So if I hold 1 and click on the silver ingot, it goes to slot number 1. If I hold 5 and click on this blue alloy ingot, it goes to slot 5. And so on. We can put the steel ingot into 0. Actually, that didn't work. I guess 0 doesn't work. Alright, so let's try 9. That's because there's only 9 hotbar items. That makes sense. Or 9 hotbar slots, I mean. Well, I guess this should be 1 to 9, not 0 to 9. And finally, we can easily drop items by holding Alt and clicking on them. So now if we have a bunch of crap in our inventory, instead of going like this all the time, we can just hold Alt and just fire it all on the ground. Way easier. And finally, if we open up the configuration options, we will see 2 options here where you can open up some files. Basically, what this lets you do is really go into detail on how you want the mod to store your items. And that chest is definitely stuck open. So yeah, basically if you go into the config files, you can tell it exactly how you want items to sort. So you can say, for instance, I want all my swords to always go into this slot. I want all my picks to go into this slot. And then you can add and remove item IDs and block IDs to different groups. So by default, it's a really useful mod, and it is extremely customizable once you get into the configuration files, which I'm not going to get into, but if you look in the description of this video, you will see a link to the Inventory Tweaks forum thread, and that will probably have a link somewhere to, I guess they have a wiki or a website, and that gives you information on the configuration files. So that concludes this video on inventory tweaks. Highly recommend this mod. It's going to make your Minecraft life a ton easier, and you will probably save hours on looking for items in your inventory. And I will definitely be using it in my upcoming YouTube series, my YouTube videos, whatever you want to say. And if anybody's watched them, you will know that I tend to get lost looking for items in my inventory. That probably takes up a quarter of my video just trying to find things. So hopefully this will greatly assist me in that endeavor. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.